Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up.
Sasha's return to Port Charles sent shockwaves through everyone who thought she had left for good. The courtroom was tense that morning as Nina Reeves sat beside her attorney, trying to keep her emotions in check. The case had dragged on for weeks, filled with accusations, betrayals, and painful memories. Nina was facing serious charges that could tear her life apart, but she had no idea that someone from her past was about to walk in and change everything. As the judge took her seat, the crowd in the gallery whispered among themselves. Carly and Drew exchanged a wary look, while Michael sat stiffly, his jaw tight. No one knew what to expect, and Nina herself had lost hope that anyone would come forward on her behalf. Then the doors opened, and all heads turned as Sasha Gilmore stepped into the courtroom. The room went silent, the air heavy with disbelief. "Oh my God," Willow whispered, clutching Michael's hand. Carly's eyes widened, and Nina froze, her breath catching in her throat. Sasha, dressed simply but elegantly, walked slowly toward the front. Her expression was calm, but her eyes revealed the weight of everything she had been carrying. "Your Honor," the bailiff announced, "Miss Sasha Gilmore has requested to give testimony for the defense." The judge nodded slowly, clearly taken aback. Nina turned to her attorney, whispering urgently, "She's here? Why is she here?" Sasha stepped onto the witness stand and took the oath, her voice steady but soft. The prosecutor eyed her warily, sensing that this woman might be the unpredictable factor that could derail the case. Nina's attorney approached. "Miss Gilmore, thank you for coming today. Can you tell the court your relationship to the defendant?" Sasha took a deep breath. Nina Reeves was like a mother to me," she said. Nina's lips trembled. "She believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. She gave me a life, a chance, and for that, I'll always be grateful. But that's not why I'm here today." The courtroom murmured. The judge raised an eyebrow. "Miss Gilmore, are you saying you have information relevant to this case?" Sasha nodded, her voice gaining strength. "Yes, Your Honor. I came because there's something everyone needs to know, something that could change everything." Nina looked terrified, unsure whether Sasha's presence would save her or destroy her completely. Carly leaned toward Drew and whispered, "What the hell is she up to?" Drew shrugged, whispering back, "Whatever it is, it's gonna blow the roof off this courtroom." Sasha's hands trembled slightly as she looked at Nina. "When I left Port Charles, I needed to heal. I needed to find myself again after everything that happened, with my baby, with Brando, with the lies I told. But during that time away, I learned something about what really happened before this trial even began." The prosecutor stood. "Objection, Your Honor. This sounds like speculation." The judge waved a hand. "Let her continue. I'll determine its relevance." Sasha nodded gratefully and continued. "Nina didn't do what everyone thinks she did," Sasha said, her voice cracking with emotion. "She didn't act out of malice or spite. She was trying to protect someone." Nina's eyes filled with tears. "Sasha," she whispered under her breath. "Who was she protecting?" the attorney asked. Sasha hesitated, the weight of her revelation pressing down on her. "She was protecting me." The crowd gasped. Michael's head jerked up. Willow looked at Sasha, completely confused. Carly frowned deeply, crossing her arms. The judge motioned for order. "Miss Gilmore, please explain what you mean by that." Sasha swallowed hard. Before all this happened, before Nina's actions led to this trial, there were things happening behind the scenes that no one knew. She found out something I'd been hiding, something that could have destroyed my life. I thought I was strong enough to handle it on my own, but I wasn't. I'd relapsed. I was back using drugs again." Nina covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Willow covered her mouth in shock. "Oh my God," she whispered. Michael muttered, "That explains everything," Sasha continued, her voice trembling but determined. Nina found out. She confronted me, begged me to get help. But she never told anyone. She was scared the truth would ruin me, and she was right. I would have lost everything. My job, my reputation, my recovery. She did something reckless to protect me, something she never meant to go this far. Nina's attorney leaned forward. Are you saying Nina's actions were meant to shield you, not to harm anyone else? Sasha nodded. Yes. Everything she did, it was to protect me. But she never wanted to hurt anyone. She made a mistake, but she made it out of love. The courtroom buzzed with whispers. The prosecutor frowned deeply, flipping through her papers. So, Miss Gilmore, are you admitting that you were using illegal substances again, and that the defendant attempted to conceal that fact? Sasha nodded. Yes. And I'm willing to face the consequences. But I couldn't let her go down for something that was my fault. Nina was openly sobbing now. Sasha, no. You don't have to do this, she cried out. The judge banged her gavel. Order in the court. Sasha looked at Nina, her expression resolute. You saved me once, Nina. It's time I save you. The silence that followed was almost unbearable. Michael stared at Sasha, stunned by her honesty. Carly's face softened, just slightly, as if part of her respected Sasha's courage even if she still couldn't stand Nina. Drew leaned forward, whispering, she might have just turned this whole trial around. When the defense rested, the courtroom was in chaos. Reporters whispered furiously. Nina sat there trembling, her face buried in her hands. Her attorney whispered that testimony could be enough for reasonable doubt. But the prosecutor wasn't done. Miss Gilmore, she began, standing again, you say you're telling the truth to protect Nina. But isn't it possible you're doing this because you feel guilty? You've lost so much, haven't you? Your husband, your child, your career. Maybe you just want to make yourself believe this was all noble. Sasha blinked back tears but didn't flinch. You're right, she said quietly. I've lost everything. But I've gained something too. The courage to finally tell the truth. Nina looked up, her eyes full of pride and heartbreak. Sasha smiled faintly through her tears. I can't erase what I did, or what she did to protect me, but I can stop pretending. She doesn't deserve to go to prison for trying to save me from myself. The courtroom went still again. Willow's expression softened, memories flooding back of her own struggles and second chances. She looked at Michael, whispering, maybe we've all been too hard on her. Michael didn't answer, but his face showed conflict. Carly, arms still crossed, muttered under her breath, we'll see if the judge agrees. As court adjourned for the day, Nina approached Sasha, her eyes red. Why did you come back? She whispered. Sasha smiled sadly. Because I couldn't live with the guilt anymore. You stood by me when no one else would. It was time I did the same for you. Nina took her hand, her voice breaking. I never wanted you to carry that burden. Sasha shook her head. You carried it for me long enough. The two women hugged, and for the first time in months, it felt real, like redemption was possible. Outside the courtroom, reporters swarmed them, shouting questions. Sasha, are you admitting to drug use? Nina, do you think you'll be acquitted now? Sasha ignored them all, clinging to the one person who had always believed in her, even when she didn't deserve it. Across the hall, Carly, Drew, Michael, and Willow stood watching. That was intense, Drew murmured. Carly shook her head. Sasha's brave, I'll give her that. But this doesn't change what Nina's done to my family. Willow frowned slightly. Maybe not, but it shows there's more to the story than we knew. Later that evening, back at the Metro Court, Nina sat quietly in her suite, staring out the window. The city lights shimmered below, but all she could think about was the moment Sasha walked into that courtroom. She heard a knock and turned to see Sonny standing in the doorway. I heard what happened, he said gently. Nina nodded, wiping her tears. She saved me, Sonny. She told the truth. Sonny stepped closer, his eyes full of compassion. You deserve someone to finally stand up for you. Nina shook her head. I don't know if I deserve anything anymore. I just want this nightmare to end. Sonny put a hand on her shoulder. It will. Maybe this is your chance to start over. Meanwhile, Sasha returned to her apartment, exhausted but relieved. She placed her hand on a photo of Brando and whispered, I did it, baby. I finally told the truth. Tears streamed down her face, but they were cleansing tears this time. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, there would be fallout, questions, maybe even legal consequences. But for the first time in years, she felt free. The next day, in the courtroom, everyone waited anxiously for the verdict. The judge spoke clearly and firmly. After reviewing all testimony, including that of Miss Gilmore, the court finds that there is sufficient reasonable doubt in this case. The charges against Nina Reeves are hereby dismissed. Gasps of relief and disbelief filled the room. Nina broke down, covering her face with her hands as Sasha ran to her, embracing her tightly. It's over, Sasha whispered. You're free. Nina sobbed, holding her like she would never let go. Outside, reporters clamored again, but this time Nina and Sasha walked out together, heads held high. Willow approached them cautiously. Sasha, she said softly, that took real courage. I'm proud of you. Sasha smiled gently. Thanks, Willow. I just hope this helps everyone heal a little. Michael nodded, extending a hand. You did the right thing. Carly stood a few feet away, watching. She didn't say anything, but her expression softened just slightly. Drew noticed. Maybe you're starting to forgive her, he teased quietly. Carly sighed. Don't push your luck. As the sun set over Port Charles, Sasha and Nina sat together on a park bench near the water. You know, Sasha said, I used to think I'd never come back here. Too many memories, too much pain. But maybe Port Charles isn't the place I need to run from. Maybe it's where I need to start again. Nina smiled through tears. You deserve that chance. You've earned it. Sasha nodded. So do you. The two women sat in silence for a moment, the gentle sound of the water surrounding them. Nina whispered, Thank you for saving me. Sasha looked at her, eyes full of warmth. No, Nina. You saved me first. And as the night fell, it felt like, for once, both women could finally breathe again, two souls who had lost so much, finding redemption not through lies or escape, but through truth and forgiveness. In the end, Sasha's return didn't just change Nina's trial. It reminded everyone in Port Charles that sometimes, the truth, no matter how painful, can be the only thing that sets you free. As the days passed after the trial, Port Charles was abuzz with conversation about Sasha's stunning testimony. Everywhere people gathered, at Kelly's, the Metro Court, the hospital cafeteria, someone was talking about Nina's acquittal and Sasha's shocking confession. Some called it brave, others called it foolish. But no matter the opinion, everyone agreed on one thing, it had changed everything. At Crimson, the magazine Nina once poured her soul into, Maxie was organizing files when she saw Nina walk in for the first time since the trial ended. The sight made her freeze. Nina, she said, almost not believing it. Nina smiled faintly, her eyes still tired from sleepless nights. Hey, Maxie. Maxie rushed to her and hugged her tightly. You did it. Or, well, Sasha did it, but you're free. Nina chuckled softly. I guess you could say that. Though freedom feels a little strange right now. Maxie pulled back and looked at her seriously. You deserve a little peace, Nina. After everything you've been through, maybe this is the start of something new. Nina nodded. Maybe. But part of me keeps wondering, what happens to Sasha now? Across town, Sasha was at the rehab center, attending a group therapy session. She had voluntarily checked herself in after the trial. I needed to take responsibility, she told the counselor. I can't run from it anymore. The counselor smiled approvingly. That's a strong choice, Sasha. It's never easy to face yourself. Sasha took a deep breath. For so long, I tried to hide behind the pain, the lies, even the smile I'd put on for everyone. But Nina, she saw through all of it. She saw me at my worst and never stopped believing there was something worth saving. After the meeting, Sasha sat alone outside, looking up at the clear Port Charles sky. She heard a familiar voice behind her. You always did find peace in the stars. She turned around, smiling faintly. Sonny, she said softly. Sonny walked closer, hands in his pockets. You okay? Sasha nodded. Getting there. One day at a time. He nodded approvingly. That's all any of us can do. What you did for Nina, it took guts. Not a lot of people would have stood up like that. Sasha sighed. It was the only way I could forgive myself. She carried my secret to protect me. I had to set her free. Sonny sat beside her. You did the right thing. You gave her a second chance, and maybe yourself one too. Sasha looked down at her hands. Sometimes I wonder if people will ever look at me the same again. Sonny smiled softly. People have short memories when it comes to scandal, but they remember courage. You just keep doing what's right. That's how you rebuild. Sasha nodded slowly, grateful for the wisdom in his words. Meanwhile, Nina sat at her desk in crimson, staring at an old photo, one of her, Sasha, and Willow from years ago. There was laughter in that picture, real joy before everything had gone wrong. The door opened and Willow stepped inside. Nina froze for a moment, unsure how to react. Willow, she said cautiously. I didn't expect you. Willow smiled gently. I wasn't sure I'd come. But I wanted to talk. Nina nodded, motioning for her to sit. Of course. Willow took a deep breath. I heard what Sasha said in court. I've been thinking about it a lot. About how quick I was to judge you, and how much pain we've both carried. Nina's voice trembled. Willow, you had every right to be angry with me. I've made terrible mistakes. Willow shook her head. Maybe. But Sasha's honesty reminded me that people can change. That sometimes we do the wrong things for the right reasons. I'm not saying I can forget everything, but maybe I can start to forgive. Nina's eyes filled with tears. That means more than you know. Willow smiled faintly. Then let's just take it one step at a time. After Willow left, Nina leaned back in her chair, exhaling shakily. For the first time in years, she felt like the walls she'd built around herself were starting to crumble, letting in the light she'd long kept out. That evening, she met Sasha at Charlie's pub. Sasha had been released from rehab for the weekend to attend a follow-up hearing, and she looked healthier, stronger, her eyes clearer than they'd been in years. When Nina saw her, she rushed over and hugged her tightly. You look wonderful, Nina said. Sasha laughed softly. That's because I finally started taking care of myself. Nina smiled through tears. I'm so proud of you. They sat down at a table, and for a while they just talked like old friends. I was so scared, Nina admitted quietly. When you walked into that courtroom, I thought you were there to destroy me. Sasha chuckled. I almost didn't come. I was terrified too. But I couldn't live with myself if I stayed silent. Nina nodded. You've given me a gift I can never repay. Sasha smiled gently. You already did, Nina. You believed in me when I didn't deserve it. You showed me what unconditional love looked like. After Willow left, Nina leaned back in her chair, exhaling shakily. For the first time in years, she felt like the walls she'd built around herself were starting to crumble, letting in the light she'd long kept out. That evening, she met Sasha at Charlie's pub. Sasha had been released from rehab for the weekend to attend a follow-up hearing, and she looked healthier, stronger, her eyes clearer than they'd been in years. When Nina saw her, she rushed over and hugged her tightly. You look wonderful, Nina said. Sasha laughed softly. That's because I finally started taking care of myself. Nina smiled through tears. I'm so proud of you. They sat down at a table, and for a while they just talked like old friends. I was so scared, Nina admitted quietly. When you walked into that courtroom, I thought you were there to destroy me. Sasha chuckled. I almost didn't come. I was terrified too. But I couldn't live with myself if I stayed silent. Nina nodded. You've given me a gift I can never repay. Sasha smiled gently. You already did, Nina. You believed in me when I didn't deserve it. You showed me what unconditional love looked like. As they were talking, Carly entered the pub. Her eyes immediately found Nina and Sasha. The air grew tense for a moment. Sasha noticed and whispered, Here we go. Carly approached their table slowly. Sasha, she said, her tone calm but firm. I wanted to say something. Nina tensed, ready for a confrontation, but Carly surprised them both. What you did in court, that was brave. I may not like Nina or what she's done, but you told the truth, and I respect that. Sasha blinked, unsure how to respond. Thank you, Carly. That means a lot. Carly nodded. Just make sure you keep doing right by yourself. You've been through enough pain. She gave a short nod to Nina and walked away, leaving both women speechless. Did that really just happen? Nina whispered. Sasha laughed. I think Carly might finally be learning how to let go. Nina smirked. One miracle at a time. As the night went on, the two women reflected on everything that had happened, the lies, the losses, the second chances. You know, Sasha said softly, maybe this was how it was meant to happen. Maybe I had to fall apart so I could rebuild, and maybe you had to face this trial to finally be free of all the old ghosts. Nina looked at her thoughtfully. You might be right. Sometimes the hardest truths are the ones that save us. In the weeks that followed, Port Charles slowly adjusted to the changes. Sasha began volunteering at the rehab center where she'd once been a patient, helping others find strength through their recovery. Nina returned to Crimson, determined to rebuild her career with honesty and integrity. She started new campaigns focused on mental health and second chances, inspired by Sasha's courage. One day, while Sasha was leading a support group, she got a call from Nina. I've got some news, Nina said excitedly. Crimson's doing a special issue on overcoming adversity, and I want you to be our cover story. Sasha laughed in disbelief. Nina, are you serious? Completely, Nina said. You're the perfect example of resilience. You're not just surviving, Sasha, you're inspiring. Sasha's voice softened. Thank you, Nina. That means everything. When the issue hit the stands, the cover photo showed Sasha standing by the harbor, sunlight on her face, her expression strong and serene. The headline read, Rising Again, Sasha Gilmore's story of courage, truth, and redemption. The article detailed her journey from tragedy and addiction to honesty and healing, and it quickly became one of Crimson's most popular issues. In a quiet moment later that week, Nina visited the cemetery, standing in front of her late daughter Nellie's grave. She placed a single white rose on the headstone and whispered, I don't know if you can hear me, but I hope you see what's happening now. Maybe this is what redemption looks like. I couldn't save you, but maybe I can still make things right. She turned to see Sasha waiting nearby, watching silently. Nina smiled softly. You ready to go? Sasha nodded. Yeah. Let's go home. As they walked away, the sun broke through the clouds, casting golden light across the cemetery. It was symbolic, a moment that felt like healing, like hope returning after years of pain. Sasha looked back once, whispering, goodbye to the past, before facing forward again. That night, at the Metro Court, the people of Port Charles gathered for a fundraiser sponsored by Crimson. It was all about recovery, renewal, and second chances. Sasha spoke briefly on stage, her voice full of emotion. If I've learned anything, it's that the truth doesn't destroy you, it sets you free. We all fall, we all break, but it's what we do after that defines who we are. The audience applauded warmly. Nina stood in the front row, tears streaming down her face as she clapped with pride. When Sasha stepped down, Nina hugged her tightly. "You're changing lives," Nina said softly. Sasha smiled. "So are you." The two women stood there, side by side, no longer weighed down by secrets or shame, but lifted by truth and forgiveness. As the music played and laughter filled the room, it felt like a new beginning for both of them, a future no longer defined by mistakes, but by strength, courage, and the love that never truly faded. Port Charles, for all its chaos and heartbreak, had witnessed another miracle, two broken souls finding their way back to light, together. And in that moment, as Sasha and Nina smiled through their tears, it was clear that this wasn't just the end of a trial, it was the start of a new chapter, one built on truth, redemption, and the power of second chances. Weeks turned into months, and life in Port Charles slowly found its rhythm again. Yet for both Sasha and Nina, the echoes of that courtroom day still lingered in their hearts. They had both faced the storm and survived, but rebuilding their lives, truly rebuilding, would take more than freedom. It would take time, forgiveness, and faith. Sasha had become something of a quiet hero in town. Her decision to come forward and tell the truth had not only saved Nina but had also reignited conversations about honesty, addiction, and redemption. She was now volunteering full-time at the same rehab center where she'd once been a patient, working closely with the staff to develop outreach programs. She spoke openly to those who were struggling, her words carrying the weight of lived experience. One afternoon, Brooke Lynn stopped by to see her. "I read your story in Crimson," Brooke said, smiling warmly. "You were amazing." Sasha blushed slightly. "Thank you." It wasn't easy to share, but if it helps even one person, then it was worth it. Brooke nodded. "You're helping more than one person, trust me. You've inspired half this town." Sasha laughed softly. "That still feels strange to hear." Brooke's tone softened. "You deserve good things, Sasha. Don't be afraid to take them." Later that day, when the center closed, Sasha sat alone on the steps, feeling the cool breeze from the harbor. The sunset painted the sky in soft pinks and oranges, and for the first time in years, she felt at peace. Then she heard footsteps. She turned to see Cody Bell walking toward her. "Hey," he said, smiling shyly. "I was hoping I'd catch you." Sasha's heart skipped. "Cody, it's been a while." He nodded, sitting beside her. "I heard about the fundraiser, about everything you've been doing. I'm proud of you, Sasha." She smiled, a touch of sadness in her eyes. "You always believed I could make it through." Cody shrugged. "Yeah, but it's different seeing you actually do it." They sat quietly for a moment, both aware of the unspoken feelings that still lingered between them. "I miss you," Cody said finally. Sasha's breath caught. "I miss you too. But I needed to find myself before I could be with anyone." Cody nodded slowly. "And now?" She looked at him with a gentle smile. "Now, maybe I'm ready to try again." Cody smiled back, hope flickering in his eyes. "Then maybe it's time for a fresh start." Meanwhile, Nina was back in full swing at Crimson. The magazine had seen record numbers since Sasha's story ran, and advertisers were flocking back. But for Nina, the success wasn't about numbers anymore, it was about meaning. She wanted her work to matter. She'd started a new initiative called The Second Act, a monthly feature highlighting people who had rebuilt their lives after tragedy or mistakes. Maxie entered her office, holding the latest proofs. "This issue looks fantastic," she said. "And I have to say, this new direction, it's powerful. You've really turned things around, Nina." Nina smiled gratefully. "Thanks, Maxie. I guess I finally learned that you can't outrun your past, you can only grow from it." Maxie nodded. "Sounds like someone I know." Just then, there was a knock at the door. Nina looked up to see Willow standing there with a small bouquet of white lilies. "I hope I'm not interrupting," Willow said softly. Nina's heart fluttered. "Of course not. Come in." Willow smiled, handing her the flowers. I thought you might like these. Peace lilies, for new beginnings. Nina's eyes shimmered with tears. They're beautiful. Thank you. Maxie quietly slipped out, giving them space. Willow took a deep breath. I've been thinking about what Sasha said in court about forgiveness and truth. And I realized that maybe I've been holding on to anger for too long. We can't change the past, but we can decide what we do with the future. Nina's voice trembled. Are you saying? Willow smiled gently. I'm saying I want to give us a chance. Not as enemies. Maybe not even as family, not yet, but as two people trying to heal. Nina's tears spilled freely as she whispered, That's all I've ever wanted, Willow. They hugged, and for the first time in years, it felt genuine, no walls, no resentment, just fragile, tentative peace. At the Metro Court later that week, Sonny joined Nina for dinner. You've been busy, he said with a grin. Crimson's booming, Willow's reaching out, Sasha's finding her way. You've got a lot to be proud of. Nina smiled softly. I am proud, but I'm also humbled. I almost lost everything, Sonny. If Sasha hadn't come forward, Sonny interrupted gently. She did because you earned it. Don't forget that. You stood by her when everyone else turned away. Sometimes the kindness you give comes back to you when you least expect it. Nina reached across the table and took his hand. You've always believed in me too, even when I didn't deserve it. Sonny smiled faintly. Everyone deserves a second chance, Nina. Even you. As the evening wore on, they talked about rebuilding, about family, about letting go of bitterness. For once, Nina didn't feel the weight of guilt pressing on her. She felt light, hopeful, even. A few days later, she visited Sasha at the rehab center, bringing her a framed copy of the Crimson cover. I wanted you to have this, Nina said softly. Sasha smiled, tears filling her eyes. It's beautiful. Nina sat beside her. You're beautiful, Sasha. Strong, brave, and finally free. I can't tell you how proud I am. Sasha looked down at the photo, then back at Nina. You know what's funny? I used to think strength meant pretending to be fine. But now I know it's about being honest, even when it hurts. Nina nodded. That's something I'm still learning too. Sasha grinned. Well, we can learn together. They shared a quiet laugh, a moment that spoke of healing, of rebuilding what once seemed impossible. In the months that followed, their bond only grew stronger. Nina began sponsoring new initiatives through Crimson to support addiction recovery programs, using part of the magazine's profits to fund counseling and awareness campaigns. Sasha became the public face of the effort, speaking at events, giving interviews, and helping raise funds. Together, they became symbols of transformation in Port Charles, proof that redemption wasn't just a word, but a living, breathing reality. At one such event, held at General Hospital's auditorium, Sasha stood at the podium while the audience listened intently. For a long time, I thought my mistakes defined me, she said. But I learned something powerful, that every day you wake up is another chance to start over. We can't erase our past, but we can choose how we move forward. The audience applauded warmly, and Nina watched from the front row, her heart full. After the event, Sonny approached both women. You two make quite a team, he said with a smile. Sasha laughed. We've come a long way. Nina nodded, glancing at Sasha. She's the real hero here. Sasha shook her head. No, Nina. We both are. We both fought our way back. As the evening came to an end, the lights dimmed, and soft music filled the air. Nina looked around the room, at Willow smiling, at Carly speaking with Drew, at Michael holding his daughter, and for the first time, she felt part of something again. Not just tolerated, but accepted. The pain, the bitterness, the guilt, it was still there, but lighter somehow, replaced by something far stronger, grace.